Daily cycles with update on January the 6th. So, not much to say. We are following my scenario in green, and we see in black here my 2-week oscillation is going up into midweek and then down into mid-January. And that's the 4-week cycle low, and that may also be a 10-week cycle low, and then we have a breakout to all-time highs. It's also possible we have a longer correction into end of January. So let's have a look at hourly data, Dow Jones. Here also we see we have followed my scenario pretty well, but the pullback, Dow Jones doesn't want to pull back much. Well, not as much as the S&P. I guess that's the Nasdaq pulling down the S&P. Anyway, we see we have reached the point where we should expect a new 2-week oscillation to begin. So my scenario is bullish for the next 3 days or so. So Dow Jones could go up higher, make a new all-time high in this 2-week oscillation, unless we get some kind of a surprise to the downside. Maybe this 2-week oscillation is not finished yet, but looking at my wavelets, it definitely looks like we should see upside the next couple of days. But then we should have a final or possible final low around mid-January. I guess 14 days from now is about January the 20th, so around there. Looking at the wavelets in the daily data, so I have 2 scenarios, in red and in black, and I really don't know which one it is, but you know, we could kind of go sideways. Well, I don't want to speculate here. I have the 2-week oscillation and the 4-week cycle. I lean on them, but you know, I could see this uptrend continue with no real pullback here, and going up to a high and then make a bigger pullback. But I guess my main scenario is the red one here. I don't think we will go that low, but so I see 2 possible scenarios here. We have this A, B, C and a pullback, and we are around this point in the middle of the pullback. But then I have a more bullish scenario with a longer uptrend before we get the bigger pullback. And here we are at the point where, yeah, close to some kind of a low, and then we break out to higher highs, all-time high, and then have the pullback. So I really don't know, but you know, as I showed, 2-week oscillation bullish, the wavelets in hourly data looks bullish, so a bounce a couple of days and then down to the final pullback low. That's my main scenario. So looking at some cycles, I have some longer term cycles here. They have not worked very well here the last half year or so, and I will come back to that, but that's a warning sign, you know. Maybe there's something more bearish ahead here, but we have bad correlation here, so I don't really trust it, because I showed you these cycles in the previous video. I have these 3 short-term cycles I'm watching, and the composite is kind of suggesting a bounce and then a final low around end of January. But this composite is not that relevant because the cycles are shifted, as I showed. We have this 17-week cycle, and the shift started here in March. We had a late low, And this next low is kind of hard to find, but I think we should regard that as a cycle low. And then we have this cycle low in October, and all these three latest lows are all, you know, shifted a bit from the ideal cycle low. And this out of phase condition can last for quite a while. So my expectation is the next low will also be shifted, and that suggests a low early February. I don't know about that. End of January, well. Then we have the quarterly cycle, or the more dominant half-year cycle. That one is kind of bullish right now and wants to see a top around February and a lower around March. So this one is not shifted. Here we are still in phase with the cycle. But then we have the 10-week cycle. Here we also had a shift where we got out of phase with the cycle after a long period being perfectly in sync with the cycle. Here we got shifted, and we stayed shifted, and here we got shifted even more. So it looks like market tries to get back in sync with the cycle, but we see this cycle low was at this point, also this at the same point, and right now we are again at this point, 10 weeks from the last low. So is that the 10-week cycle low? Do we rally from here? I think markets want, but it could take, you know, a couple of months, but the market wants to get back in sync with this cycle, suggesting a low around early February or end of January somewhere. So when the market is out of phase with these cycles, I cannot trust the composite, because yeah, it's not right. So for the longer term, I should say, we have the 3.5-year cycle suggesting a top, a bull market top around next Christmas, perhaps even into 2025. And I think this 34-week cycle is the most dominant cycle, suggesting generally uptrend into around May, cycle low around June, and then the final bull market top around December, November, December, or January, well, ideally around December. And then that could be the start of a bear market. Well, you know, we could have a double top in the winter in 25, and then some kind of a topping formation is probably expected. So we'll see if I get surprised, if market is more bearish than this or more bullish. I also showed you the 28-year cycle, and that one is suggesting a top. Well, it could be earlier, it kind of suggested, but such a long cycle, you have to look at the shorter term cycles. The 28-year cycle suggests some kind of a top here in this decade, 2020s, and some kind of a major low in the 2030s. Yeah. So nothing much to say today. We are following my scenario, expecting some kind of a bounce the next 2-3 days. We could, you know, it could make a double top. So let's see if this is more bullish than I thought. Maybe we rally all week next week, or if it's more bearish than I thought. Maybe we just get a small bounce for 1-2 days, and then and then we just crash down. You know, we're backtesting this top. That would be kind of what to say. It looks logical to go down and test this level. Yeah. So, see you on the next one.